Right, we are live on Freedomizer Radio and on the Instagram lives here. Hi, everyone joining in. Hi, Esther. How are you? What's this? What's going on? Grand Rising. It's a little dark today. It's kind of gloomy still in the Bay Area. Leaving tomorrow, so I'm not sure if I'm going to do a live tomorrow. It depends on how Enzo does, but we will be going away to like a church camp, so I will be forced to be without any reception, Wi-Fi, or anything like that for about 3 to 4 days, and I think that that's a good thing. I think that I need it. I do need to be physically put in a place where there's just no way of communicating, or else I'm going to want to communicate, you know? If something comes in and someone, oh my gosh, this is in the news or this is going on, it's like I just cannot help myself, and I'm admitting it is a little bit of a, what would you call it? An addiction at this point, right? Like I need to let whoever know, as if you guys can't follow like the other 20, 30 out there like me who will give you the exact same freaking news. So I know everybody will be fine. I know I'll be fine. It just makes me think though, you know, no reception camping, but whatever, you know, they can apparently on a landline in the 60s call the moon, whatever. But I can't get reception in a in a campsite. Yeah, okay. I always gotta bring up that little you know, hi Monica, how's it going? The places you can't get reception, right? And all these 5G towers are coming up. Like really, I still can't place a call while driving underneath one of those airport tunnels, but I mean my brain kind of hurts. I'm getting that like face migraine. Those who are realizing this with the whole 5G, does your face tingle? Be honest. Are you sometimes like in a random part of town and you're like, my freaking face tingles? I've had tension headaches and they usually hit right here. I've felt tension here before, you know, pretty much in the prefrontal cortex part of my face, but never like just my face is tingling, right? I'm just saying. Yeah. Yes, and you saw that, Monica, that it actually is getting into your sweat glands. The itch, okay, good. It's not just me. It's not just me. So that's comforting. It's still scary, but that's comforting. Whatever, you know. Can't get a hold of you guys. What's the point of 5G, right? What are you guys doing then? If I'm on 5G sometimes because I didn't choose to be, but I'll check my phone when I'm in the city and it'll be just on 5G and it'll have like 2 bars. I'm like, okay, they're going to push for 6G next because they're going to be like, the 5G just was not strong enough, you know? Your eyeballs are twitching like crazy and, you know, your face feels like it's melting, but we need it to be stronger. We need to catch up to China and what they're doing in China. Yeah, okay. Let's get to a good place before I take it up another notch. I had to just post this earlier because, you know, I'm just gonna go for it at this point. There's a lot of the whole talk of, well, there's this division in the movement and whatever. Look, there's no division. Like unless you have a following and your only point is to grow your following, then your division is between like you and your following. It's not between you and a bunch of people you don't know, have never met, and okay. So I made this post earlier because I'm starting to see this a lot more now. And I'm not referring to the big head honcho names in the movement because I feel like they're waking up a lot of people and they're doing what they have to do. What I won't understand, and P.S., I know I left a warning, but if you are new to this forum, please don't watch my lives. Just go ahead and check out some highlights prior. so that you can understand and you're not that person that like walks into the middle of a movie and is like, what's going on? What are we talking about? It's just it's not so much to spare me, it's to spare you. So thanks for understanding. Okay, so this was my post from earlier, and I just said this. I mentioned this because I'm seeing this a lot. So I posted, I'm getting very skeptical of those who claim to be in this movement and advocate for safer vaccines. They are not safe. So what exactly are you advocating for? Pro-medical freedom is great and all, but some of you who are calling to green our vaccines, or you're calling for like an organic vaccine, are straight tripping. And this was the actual post. So I know many of you aren't on Facebook, but I just put make vaccines safe, and then we can talk about how there's no such thing as a safe vaccine. There's no such thing, okay? So I wasn't really trying to like ruffle up feathers, whatever, you know, but you do get some people on there like, well, this is going to cause some division, or people might block or unfriend you. They're not paying me. Like, I don't receive a dime from any. That's okay. If you're going to block and unfriend, oh well. You know, I said I'm not worried about what anybody thinks. Clearly, let them call for safe vaccines all they want, but I don't want to personally get paired up in that group or mentality to begin with, okay? Because you're about people like this, and then I thought initially, okay, well, there we go. My opinion, done ski. Guys, I'm like within an hour or two after reading through other similar posts of the people who call for green vaccines. You straight turned me into a vaccine abolitionist. Do you know what that is? Like, I understand wanting to be able to have a conversation with somebody, like a stranger. You can't just be yelling out with a blowhorn, vaccines are poison, and expect to have a conversation. I understand that. But are you realistically in public settings blurting out, we should make these safe, thinking that that's a gateway opening? There's a lot of other ways that you can have an opening into a conversation where you're not lying, and like, because they're not safe. They are not safe. They've never been safe, okay? Even if they create a safe one, it's likely going to be classified as unavoidably unsafe. So it's not safe. And I just felt like I had to bring it up because you can't sit there and lie to yourself. I mean, let's say that they make a safe vaccine. All right. But okay, first of all, let's say that you're one of those that call for a safe vaccine. You're out there. We need to make these things safe. We need to make them organic. We need to make them green our vaccine. And let's say that they do come up with a safe vaccine. I'm not even going to say safer. I'm going to say they come up with a safe one that once injected doesn't have side effects, doesn't have, you know, at least nothing that's noticeable right away, or even within a couple years. God knows what was really injected into you, right? See, I can't even go down this example without being like, no, this is crazy to begin with. Let's say they make it safe, okay? And you were calling for it to be safe. Look, we made this safe now. Now everyone can go and get this done, and you can't argue with us because this is safe. Would you then be honest? Would you then go and get it done now that you've advocated for a safer vaccine? It's a little bit of a mark of the beast status. I mean, it's a little bit of a, right? So then people want to chime in with like, okay, obviously the big people in this movement need to be able to open up that conversation, right? If you're talking about Del Bigtree, RFK Jr., that's the way that they're going to have to call for this. I just take issue with some parts of that because, and although I admire both, and I'm in no way calling them shills at all. So please don't don't take what I'm saying in the wrong way. There is a reason why their platforms don't get shut down and why the rest of ours do. Okay, there is a reason. They don't, I mean, Kennedy himself doesn't really talk about the formaldehyde, glyphosate portions. He really sticks to the mercury topic and that there was thimerosal in vaccines. And they do call for them to be safer. I think that it is maybe a political move, right? It's a bit of like a way to at least get that conversation going. And that's fine, but I'm genuinely talking about those of us that are like, we need organic versions of this stuff. No, we don't. No, we don't. Exactly. It's bad science to inject anything. They haven't been able to. They love to use the example of pears and injecting pears. Tell me, where is the study that go inject a bunch of pears? Watch, it's still not safe. It's not. Next thing you know, you're not only allergic to pears. I'm just beginning to really, really understand where in history the abolitionists came in and were like, these things just need to be completely removed. We need to just get rid of them entirely because they're doing nothing but harming us and our children. And anyway, I'd rather not associate with that crowd to begin with. So then what do you do if you're in a public space? What do you say? There's other things you can say in a to start up a conversation. You can advocate for medical freedom, choice, and zero mandates. Those are all great openings still without having to lie, because I'm telling you, what are you going to get yourself in a position of like, that's not a good spot to be in, right? Oh, but then, so Talia, if they made these safer, would you consider? No. Why? Because they're still poison. It's still poison. No. So even if it was absolutely safe and not poisonous and they weren't using poisonous ingredients, would you? No. Why? Because actually, I don't have to continue for the rest of my life explaining to other people my flipping choices when it comes to what I do and what I do with my kids. Like, forever. Okay? Why do we continuously have to explain ourselves? And why are we always excusing the people that have been lying to us since the very beginning? This is the stuff that gets to me all day, every day. People who are afraid to be labeled as an anti-vaxxer, right? You're afraid of that label. I am anti-vaccine because I am anti-poison, and I can be pro-science and anti-vaccine, and I don't care. I just don't care. I think this is why we're in the mess we're in to begin with, is because we spent so much more time tiptoeing around what other people think about what we do with our lives, okay? Instead of spending the time really researching and making informed decisions for our babies, is why we're in this mess to begin with. Exactly. It's just a label. Like, who cares? You have the right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness in this country. By the founders, that is what you have the right to. You have a lot of people that love to scream out, it's my right, it's my right, it's my right, I should have this right, What are rights? What even are your rights? Monica was messaging with me earlier. You have privileges, right? But what are rights? You have the same people that want to scream out, you have the right to an education. Have you seen what the education is in this country? It's a shitty education. So, okay, you have the right to a shitty education. You have the right to be protected by the cops. You have the right to call 911. Yeah, it could take them 15 to 20 minutes to come over. So in the meantime, try telling the burglar that's at your house that you have the right to live in peace. Your rights, okay? I think that it's just so easy to blurt that out as if you truly are entitled to something. Yeah, you have the right to live in peace. Doesn't mean that's going to happen. But if saying it out loud makes you feel better, then great. Okay? Because even if you have the right to be protected by the authorities and the guys in the blue costumes show up to your house, there's no guarantee that they're going to be on your side to begin with. Remember, you have the right to remain silent, and that anything you say can and will be used against you in court, right? And then we forget that criminals in this country, they have rights too. They have rights to attorneys just like you have rights to an attorney. You can still lose your case. And what are you left with? Well, I got rights. I got my rights. Is that what you're falling back on then? Is that what you're falling back on? And who are you allowing to continue to place now, I'm not trying to sit here and be like, complete anarchy type. I'm just letting you guys know nothing is free. You don't have rights. Truly. Okay? In their blue collar. Come on, because really, if you want to be a bully and get away with it, join the force, okay? Because the right to what? Have you seen, these moms that want to call out that they should have the right to free childcare, nothing is free. Have you ever left your children in free care, whether it's something that the government paid for, with a daycare, or whether it's just the grandparents who watch your kids for free? How many of you have just left your kids with their grandparents, okay? And then for a whole day or a weekend, whatever. And when you come back, you're like, I gotta now undo a lot of stuff that my kids saw, that they were told, nothing is free. Nothing is free, okay? And free is never good. It's never good, and it's also never on your terms. You've heard of beggars can't be choosers, right? Beggars can't be choosers. That is, in a sense, this entire society and why things are the way they are. Because you have way too many people that are sucking at the tit. And when they're getting just a little bit of milk, even if it's bad milk, even if it's GMO processed garbage milk, okay, that they lied to you for 3 decades saying that it did your body good. You have a harder time biting the hand that feeds you. And they know that. You guys, you realize that you don't even have the right to clean water. Right? We don't even have rights to clean water. They say, well, here's what you get for free, because free is, in their eye, it's crap. Nothing is free, and what is free is trash. Look at our free water. Go online and look up the levels of arsenic in your community, in your town, what's being tested with the water. I post on water often. There's a lot of sites, government sites, so they can at least say, well, it's not like we didn't tell them. We reported on the news every now and then that more things were found in the water, and just so that it's not coming out of left field that, oh, by the way, this entire time it's been little bits of poison. And you've known because we showed you little bits at a time. But you're going, well, it's nice of them to at least provide us with some running water. That was really nice of them. Because your taxes go to what? We discussed this a couple weeks ago. We are allowing the continuous theft because we literally have people in this country that think that there's no other private company that could build a road, that they can continue to pull at 40% of what you make for roads. And have you seen half of our roads? Okay? Everything that they run looks like it was still from the 80s. I tell you guys often, if you want to time travel, you just go into you want to take your kids on a time traveling journey. You say, kids, we're going to travel back in time to the 80s. I can't wait to show you what life was like for us in the 80s. And they're going to be like, oh my God, how amazing. Let's do this. And you could fluff up your hair, get all that volume going in there, throw on a jean jacket, roll it up, throw some pins. Take them to the DMV. Okay? Take them to the DMV. Take them to the Social Security offices for a little bit. Take them to the post office. Travel back in time with your kids to see how inefficient, okay? And how your 5-year-old that knows how to work Amazon Prime and knows how to freaking figure out the passwords that you're setting up on your dish is gonna look around at that DMV and they're gonna have 10 ways to solve these problems. They're gonna be like, what is this? Okay? It's a joke. It's a joke. Everything they touch is basura. And you have people in this country that think it's a great idea for them to now have, say, complete control over your personal health. What more can you give them that they can completely fuck up? Honestly, what more are you willing to give them? You swear, name one thing that's been given to you for free besides, I don't know, maybe some advice here and there. But even that person that's advising you, okay, they likely had to live through it and go through that mistake. And you're like, okay, great. I'm just saying, name one thing. Name one thing, because you have people who are willing to leave their children in the hands of this sheer, obvious incompetence that is government care. Okay? Your child just, I know, seriously, and people want universal health. Do not get me started on universal health care. I'm going to say this about universal health care really quick, okay? The richest in the poorest countries that offer this shit health care, they come to America for their doctors and specialists, okay? People in Canada with their universal health care, the wealthy in Canada, they come to America for the specialists, all right? They do. You'll have doctors that your insurance won't cover, and that's how you know that they're specialists in their field that are in all over this country, okay? They're all over America, and they will specialize in the one thing. So it's not just the brain cancer surgeon. It's there's literally only small section of the brain that they work on, and that's it, and that's all they do, and they're the specialists. Now, not only in America, okay? There's a lot actually in Hong Kong. I've heard of really good ones in Singapore where they're doing all kinds of innovative things, but you have to out of pocket pay for that kind of stuff, okay? Yeah, just universal healthcare is it's going to be a complete joke. And there's enough people who do those undercover videos on YouTube that will show you that you'll be waiting in an emergency room for 12 hours for a tetanus shot on universal healthcare. Oh my gosh. These are all the same institutions, by the way. When you want to talk about, well, what should the government be in charge of? What we forget, these are the same institutions that told you that cigarettes don't cause cancer. Okay, they told you that milk does your body good for decades. They told you the food, they created the now completely food pyramid. You guys remember the food pyramid that we learned about like all through the 90s? Yeah. Look at our obesity rates in this country right now and like the health of our children and the complete decline of health, period, based on this food pyramid thing. And then to find out that the people behind that, like they had vested interest and they were in and they lobbied and it's like, these are the same people who told you for decades and decades that marijuana was a gateway drug. Okay? You let them be in charge of like public health. They've never cared about public health. So when I say that they are not safe, they've never been safe, why are you calling for a government, still these same people that we're talking about, those in charge, to create something safer for you? It's like, are you delusional? Trauma is the biggest gateway drug. Thank you very much. That is correct, Claudia, with voice. Yes, trauma is a gateway drug. I mean, you know, even when they recognize things are bad, I don't mean to get on that end here, but I gotta blurt it out for a little quick second, okay? Michelle Obama noticed that the kids were getting really obese in this country, and just, have you seen what her solution was? Can you Google up Michelle Obama school lunches? Can you please Google school lunches via Michelle Obama? Some of you are still recovering from that. Some of you ate that, okay, went to college, and you're now calling for communism. And you need to fix your gut. You need to fix your gut. These are the same institutions that told you these same lies. All governments, though, will lie. It's not just America. It's all governments that will lie to you. And why? Why do they get to lie to you? Because we also are of this just traumatic upbringing where we in turn now get to a point that if you are in control over anybody, even if the only person you have control over is like your child, okay? Because there is this human need and desire to be in control. There really is. So if you have control over a child, what do you allow yourself to lie to them about? And what are your excuses as to why you lie to your kids? I'm not perfect. I mean, there are things that I have also in turn excused when I have to lie to my kids. I say things like, well, they're too young to understand. You know, they're too young. It's either you're too young to understand, you're too dumb to understand, and dumb when it comes to meaning just their capacity. Like a 5-year-old is not going to understand this topic, right? Like, we continuously lie to our children. We do. We lie to them about, sometimes you lie to them for no reason at all. You know, every year because Santa, the Easter Bunny, the Tooth Fairy. There really is no reason. That's like an extra additional lie that we've just like excused. Oh, I mean, and what's the excuse for that one? I mean, my parents did it with me and I'm fine. I mean, and so then what do? We also don't even have to explain ourselves when the kids wake up and realize that that was a complete fabrication. It was a lie. They excuse us because of that whole, call it Stockholm Syndrome at that point. No, I mean, my mom still loved me. So it's like, okay, people who love me lie to me. So if that's already just our upbringing from childhood, that people who love me, who feed me, who bathe me, who put a roof over my head can sometimes lie to me, and sometimes that's okay, and sometimes there's a benefit in that, and it's for the greater good, then obviously it is much easier to accept the fact that those in control of the others on the freaking have to lie. We excuse our leaders all the time for lying to us. We allow their lies to be justified. And what makes you think that the powers that be don't also have the same mindset? They've seen the herd, okay? If you were in control of, forget the world, like America or your city, Okay, let's just say you were like you worked for City Hall, and you saw just your community, and you stood outside for a day outside of a Walgreens because there was a sign on there that said, get your free $10 gift card for lining up and getting this flu shot. And you sat and you just watched the people who lined up for the free $10 gift card, willingly, blindly injecting themselves. What would you think? Would you trust that person also with very like top secret information? Would you trust that person with anything really important? No. You'd likely say, yeah, I understand. Maybe not everyone needs to know exactly what's going on all the time. You would make that decision. And don't lie and say you wouldn't, because that's just a trip to Walgreens, okay? I don't even bring up the free freaking turkey for the flu shot. People line up for free. People line up for discount. People line up for cheap, even though it's going to break the next day. And they don't just line up for it, they fight each other for it. That is the herd. That is how they view the majority of us. So when they're doing anything, forget if it's even top secret, they already have this mentality of they don't need to know this information. They don't need to access this information. Santa and Tooth Fairy bring gifts. Imagination is creative play. Okay, Nicole. Fine. I'm not judging you. I have mentioned, though, that in order to get my kids away from the Santa thing, as people are like, oh my gosh, your kids don't get to grow up with a Santa. No, they don't, because I want my kid, all over our house are warning signs of trespass and you'll be shot. Okay? That's one. So my kids already think like, well, nobody is going to want to come through our chimney because mom and dad are going to blast them if they come and break into this house, you know. And I'm like, well, yeah, no trespassing. Okay, that's the first thing. Second, if you want your kids to slowly just not care for Santa, you can wrap up the shit presents and say that they're from Santa. You know, you can wrap up like the socks. Like, why do parents do that? I've never understood that. How come all the crappy parents are from you, or crappy presents are from you, but like the coolest presents, the ones that you actually worked really hard for, like the bike and how come those are all from this imaginative, like, why? Then you want your kids to love you more, not Santa. So that's an easy way to like slowly get out of the Santa thing. You know, make the crap presents from Santa so that they're like, oh, well, I was good all year and that's what I got. Yeah. Santa thought you needed new underwear. No, really. But once again, I mean, I'm not here to judge you. I'm just trying to bring up the point of excusing the lie and excusing the constant, you know, dependence on a very failed system. Like, they've historically proven to fail over and over and over again, and we just continue to let them get a pass. You have people in your life right now that you burned a bridge with because they lied to you one time. Think about that. How many people do you personally know that you literally want nothing to do with, don't ever talk to me again, don't even look at me, I don't want to hear that person's name because they told you a lie once? All right? Bridges burned. All science has proven is that it's always changing. And the only thing that's ever been consistent about science and about government is that they're inconsistent. I'll say that again. What's consistent is their inconsistency. in everything that they get their hands on. So no, if they invented something safe, it's still a no from me. It's always going to be a big whopping no from me, especially when you understand that the underlying of it all is that they've never given a shit about public health and safety. They have never cared, and they never will. Because if you've seen the public and you've seen what's out there in Zombieland, you probably wouldn't care either. Okay? Yeah, no one really, I mean, growing up with Santa, you don't get traumatized from that. It's not a lie that will actually like cripple you, but when you get used to lies repeatedly that are like that for the fun of it or for the, from somebody that you love, it does put you in a position where you're not going to really question the lie. Like, I even got to those points where when Bush was president or when Obama was president and they do top secret, whatever, I've been that person that sat back and been like, oh, there really should be some things that we just don't have access to, for the safety of the country. Like there should be a lot of things that we just are not able to get access to, shouldn't know, shouldn't even talk about because it doesn't concern us, and let the people that are in charge handle it. They know what they're doing. I mean, we say things like that, right? We say things like this all the time, and it's pretty much just excusing whatever it is they're doing. You know what they have done? Those same people that I've even said, well, let them handle it. These are the same cover-up artists for things like Watergate, okay? For the entire Vietnam War, perhaps. It's like the people that sit back and go, you're not a scientist, you're not a doctor. Yeah, I'm not a doctor. I'm not the third leading cause of death in this country. Thank you. Thank you very much. I'm not a doctor. I don't want to be one. Because doctors and their mistakes kill over 250,000 people a year. So yeah, no, I'm not. And I'm not in charge. And I don't want to be. Actually don't want to be. Okay? Oh, but you're not, people are taking the FDA's anything that they approve. This is the same organization. Have you literally looked up FDA recall? Look that up when you get a second. There have been at least 35 really big drugs, which, were FDA approved, put on your shelves, left on your shelves, some of this stuff for decades, that now are getting recalled and things are coming back. Oh, by the way, this caused death. Vioxx. Just the fact that Vioxx alone killed more Americans than the Vietnam War, if we are talking about that subject. And that same company that produced that is still in business, and they're in charge of making your childhood vaccines. And they get a pass, is all I'm saying. They get a pass. And not only a pass, they get blanket immunity. And there's still people in this movement that are like, okay, Merck. Okay, Glaxo. Can we make it safer, though? Can we make it so that it's safer? How about can we not? How about when can we hold you all accountable for these crimes against humanity and these lies? How many people actually believe their floors are made from real wood? Oh, no. Really. Well, formaldehyde in the flooring is cancerous, but apparently not when it's injected. Are we talking about like the laminate thing or like the real wood? Or are we talking about the generation before us before my parents' generation that thought it was a good idea to put carpet over real wood? Like actually the house I'm standing in right now, because I'm in the Bay Area, okay? And so we all understand how like crazy housing prices are out here. Very, very old house built in the 1800s. The people here who were in charge put fake laminate flooring. And I was like, what's underneath? Guys, what's underneath this is like real wood. Unless you're telling me now that there's never been real wood in flooring. I don't know. But I'm like, what? Why would you do that? Why would you do that? You know, everyone should follow. Okay. Oh, is that about the being a sovereign citizen? You know, I do take... I do still have a lot of like, about that. You guys know me. I'm very torn in between like, do I exit the matrix completely, as in exit completely, you know, like, but what's that going to entail? Am I still going to want to drive a car? Am I still going to want to travel? And then you're reading up with these people that they still get to travel. They do. They're just no longer they're like a citizen of the state of whatever, but they're not American citizens. They're not... There's like ways to do it, but I don't know. I have 100-year-old real wood floors that were under carpet before we moved in. It was on there. So it's like, what are we talking about right now? But I'm just not sure. And, you know, I have a lot of family that they're still located in the Philippines, and seeing the corruption that's happening there. And like, guys think that like our president right now is terrible. Like, you guys realize what's happening in third world countries, right? I mean, it's kind of the stuff nightmares are made of, and you will not be able to sleep. So you also have a lot of people that are calling for like, what's a better country to move to, and what... I don't want to also sit back and be that person that's like, well, we still have it pretty good over here. So right now, with everything that's happening, it is a domestic war that's happening in this country. This country is like on its way to like a freaking civil war. The only good news about domestic war is that we are fighting with each other versus fighting with another country. It would take, though, another country coming in and invading us, and this entire topic will completely be put on hold for a while. Like, we just won't talk about this because we're like, we need to now be together and work together. But I can tell you that there is a lot going on in other countries that I'm kind of glad doesn't happen here. For instance, in the Philippines, there is a very corrupt, in-your-face child syndicate racket. Okay, this happens also in Thailand. I know it's happening in parts of Mexico. And we're talking foreigners who come in, okay, using probably Bitcoin type stuff, because they can't get prosecuted in the Philippines. They'd have to get prosecuted back in their own home countries. And they're coming in knowing that the child trafficking racket is just out there. All like the plethora of choices for them to have in countries like that. And there are some really sick, vile cases. And you're talking like, the last one that they were pulling up that my cousins were telling me about was a 1-year-old. Okay? Like, as young as 1. Being trafficked. And clientele is these foreigners. And I'm sorry to burst any bubbles here and make it like this downer type thing, but if you're not aware of what's going on with child sex trafficking, you land in the country like the Philippines, and when I go there for vacation, I'm not staying in the cities. I'm going to the beaches, okay? Like, you go to the beaches because the minute you get out of that airport, there are 3-year-olds, 4-year-olds knocking at your window while you're stuck in traffic trying to sell you God knows what. And they're selling the same thing blocks away. It's a syndicate, all right? And it's out there in the open. That kind of stuff you can't really do in America. Immediately you'd be like, oh my gosh, what is this? Whose kid is this? Like, Americans, at least to that point, are still involved, but over there, you can't even give them a sandwich that's in your car for them to eat, because the person standing at the corner that's running the show for that little part of the 4 corners that these kids have to answer to, they're not going to let them eat that sandwich you give them. They're not going to let them wear the shoes you give them. They're giving these kids glue to continuously look hungry and look malnourished, and they are malnourished. okay? Those kids, you have parents in the provinces that are selling their babies for food, okay? This still happens. This still happens. I know that it's happening in America. There is child sex trafficking here in America, and too many Americans are blind to seeing that. They don't want to see, they don't want to know what's going on in parts of the desert that you don't get to. They don't realize how big this land of the free actually is. But I'm just saying, out in other countries, it's not in your face and in the public and in the open where you literally have to turn a blind eye and just pretend like you didn't see that, because it'll ruin your day. So what I'm saying is, those kids that are on all these street corners in these third world countries, they can't do that in America, in a big city. You're never going to be able to go down New York and go past like 5 stoplights and see that many children under the age of 5 knocking at your car, orphaned, trying to sell you something. That's just not going to happen. So that's my comparison there. But it is happening in America. We're just living in this completely disgusting time. Now, when you're considering, well, then where is safe? Nowhere's safe, first of all. Where can I move to? What can I... It also is going to have to be about what kind of life do you want to give your children? What kind of culture do you want them growing up in? Like, my issues with the American culture is, first of all, there is none. We have a culture here that celebrates death. We have a culture here that celebrates brokenness and broken families and victimhood. That's the American culture. That if you have had it bad, well, here's a pill you can pop that's going to just mask stuff and you're going to be dependent on forever. So I also don't like that. I'm like, I want my kids to be immersed in a place that has more of a family culture, that a culture that values marriages and staying together and relying on each other and not relying on Big Daddy government. So that's also, I understand why people are looking into other places. I for sure understand that. And that would be the only reason that I'd also be like wanting out of a country like this, because I just, growing up here, I was told constantly growing up that that we might be in America, but we're not Americans. I was told that constantly. And it was, and I understand it now more than ever. So going back to community and fellowship and all of that, and like, where can you find a place like that? Where can you find a place like that in America? Right? I want out too, but we can't keep running. So I think we're all in the same, most of us are in the same mindset, okay? And I'm not saying, oh, I got a solution for you here. This is what I'm looking at. I know that there's a handful of places still in this country that can offer more of a family-oriented community feel, but I also haven't lived it yet, so I don't want to say one thing for sure. I don't want to just be like, we should all move to Idaho, or we should all get a big plot of land in the Ozarks, because it really is only a matter of time till this stuff is everywhere. And so going back to that, if you're calling for the safety of this stuff, you got to ask yourself, what are you calling for then? You're calling for ultimately somebody else to provide that safety for you and your family, when it is not anyone else's responsibility to do that. And it should have never been anyone else's responsibility to do that. It should have always been yours. That's what I'm saying. Time to buy an island. This is the best part of military community. Same boat, family, values, it takes a village. Yeah, the military, I guess the only downside with that is just the forced inoculations in order to keep your health care. Because this thing stems way greater than, just the are they safe and effective debate. It really does. What have we allowed? When you're allowing them to now Okay, because universal healthcare will kill us all. I swear you. I'm telling you, universal health, if you just see what Medi-Cal looks like and Medicaid looks like, these people that have gotten to either you're too young or you're falling in under a category where you're not making enough or you're too old, then see what is now offered to you, because it's terrible. It's absolutely terrible. Military healthcare is trash. I have a highlight, and I shared all of those screenshots that you guys, so many of you saw the people in the military that are like, dude, I just went in there for like an eye exam and they were offering me a vasectomy. And it's like funny to read through this stuff, but not like, it's funny and scary. It's terrible healthcare. Terrible what they provide to you. Anything that has to be service to you is really, really trash. So then you think about it. What do I need health insurance for? Well, I'll tell you honestly, my biggest fears, or I think many of your biggest fears, I would need health insurance for the big type of accidents, right? Like that's how you think. The big collisions, something that's going to land me in the hospital and I'm going to need to be like surgery, like something that's going to land me there. Bad accident, getting hit by a tractor, be whatever. That would be the only reason that I think that I would need health care. But then after seeing what they're doing to people while in a coma state, and when I've seen and heard the stories of how they the biogenics thing I'm like, okay, but then what? Do I just want to be left to die? Like, just let me bleed out. Just let me die. This is crap. I don't want whatever. I don't want to come out like a half version of myself anyway. That's the only thing that I think is keeping us on this, like, we need them. We need them. We need their services. Because other than that, I'm not privy to, I'm not making it up in my mind already. These people here in America that just have given up, right? The older generation that just has made it up in here that they're going to die by either cancer, heart attack, whatever heart condition it's likely going to be, because, and oh yeah, by the time I'm in my 70s and 80s, I'm probably going to lose my mind anyway. I'm not going to remember anything because dementia, Alzheimer's, whatever. It's already this give up that they've done. So my insurance refused to cover my birth at a birth center. They said, and that's the thing too with insurance companies, right? You have thousands of women who have proven that they've had a vaginal birth after a C-section and that it was successful. They're called VBACs, and you should look into that. And they've tried with many of these insurance companies, they've tried to say, well, hey, I know I had a C-section the first time around. I want to try vaginal this next time around. It's not a high-risk thing, and I want to try it. And insurance companies will straight up tell them, no, you can't. So what do you have these women doing? They're like freaking going to Canada to have birth. It's just, we need more woke surgeons and open up. This is also why universal healthcare will never work, because what kind of doctor is going to be a good doctor knowing that they'd make the same amount of money if they just worked at the taco shop down the street? You need to get back to, like, doctors should, if you're good at what you do, then you're good at what you do, and you should I guess charge accordingly. But if you're depending on pharma to fund most of your lifestyle, then how can you even be good at what you do? Right? If they're funding, if you're a pediatrician and going into this thing and you're saying, I love children and I want to help children, and I'm pretty sure that that's where your mindset was before. It's not like you were just like, I'm going to be evil and just take pretty sure most people that get involved into the healthcare field have the best intentions. But when you get in and you're now in all this debt and you graduate and you come out of there now ready to take on the world, ready to help babies, and you realize very soon after that in order to keep the lights on in your practice, the only way to do that is to have at least 63% of your clientele on the CDC schedule, Are you going to make a decision now that is for the better health, you know, and the protection of these kids? Or are you going to be protecting the lifestyle that you now have to live and the massive amounts of debt that you've accrued? We need to make healthcare and drug prices totally unaffordable. Imagine the lives that would be saved. Honestly, I feel like Obamacare kind of did that. I remembered it started at like $600 a month. That's what we were saying. And within a year, it jumped to $1,500. And we didn't even get a notice. They're like, oh, we mailed you a notice. And I was like, no, you didn't. And our deductible went from $1,500 to $7,500. So ultimately, it really would take getting hit by a tractor, right? In order for that thing to make sense. They've been brainwashed to believe these. Exactly. It's not only the brainwashing, honestly, at this point, you can't be stupid. At this point, they are purposefully pretending like they don't know. Because that's what anybody would do. Not anybody. I feel like many people do quit, or there are many in the field that have spoken out. And what's the benefit to speaking out? You're just going to be labeled a quack anyway. So how about, I think many of them already are awake to this, but they're just biding their time. Have you ever done that? Have you ever stuck around with anything in life that you knew just wasn't great, but you're like, I just got to make a little bit more? Or when I can pay off this, then I'll quit. Or when I can do this, then I'll pursue. You know, it's a plan. It's a plan for them. Right? My kid now is going to I'm talking not about myself. I'm just trying to understand maybe where their mindset is, right? If you're making a certain income, your kids are now in private schooling, that's expensive. You can't also just quit. You can't afford your home anymore. Where are you going to move? We all have our own personal reasons for doing what it is that we do and for how long we do it until you pursue what is right in the world, if you even get to that point to ever do that. But I am noticing that if the things that are keeping you corrupt are very just material things that really you don't need, then it should be easier to walk away. It really should be easier to make that call and walk away. I just can't sympathize with too many people because I took the hit in every angle. I took the hit in that I had to move my family, I had to move my business. I literally, when I say I took a hit, I took a freaking hit to leave California. It hurt my wallet big time. It hurt my mental state. It hurt me physically. It hurt me financially. And I did it anyway because I was like, I need to be able to sleep well at night. And those waves crashing type apps don't cut it for me. So you have to get to those points where just none of it matters. But what matters, which is our humanity and our well-being and being able to sleep at night, our babies. Many are being willfully ignorant, and then we have to realize that too. So these are the same people that are now pitting themselves, pitting their careers, pitting their lifestyles over the health of you, the health of your child, you know, and we're continuously allowing them more control, more power, and they get our forgiveness and they get to do it again just in another way. There's going to only be a creative other way that they're going to do this. So just wanted you to sit with that. If that's where you're at, you know, oh, well, I vouch for safer. It's never going to be safer in the hands of people who've never cared about your safety. So I got to go. I'm going to figure out the rest of my day. Be a mom. And we'll chat soon, guys.